Hi everybody, this is Rich Gibbons with SpeakInc. We're on site in Huntington Beach, California. We're getting ready for a keynote with everybody's favorite Blue Angel pilot, John Foley. John, good to see you.
Rich, glad to be here.
Yeah, and you are glad to be here.
I am. This is special. I'll tell you why number one is special is that you're here. You know, you're here. You've made it so incredible for us. We're looking forward to blowing them away. We got all kinds of video. We're going behind the scenes, first-person account of this elite high performance, and they're going to learn that high performance is not just process; it's mindset. And glad to be here is the differentiator.
Right. Well, for those, there might be one or two people out there that are not familiar with John Foley. Maybe one or two. That are not familiar with John Foley, but to see your program it's sort of well, gosh, you had to be there. But for those that are not familiar with John and his program, there's a couple things that really I think stand out. And I've seen a few speakers in my time. One thing that you and I talked about at an event some time ago. Everybody in that, whether there's 500, 1,000 people in that audience, they all assimilate information and they react to things differently. And one of the great things, and I know I've mentioned this to you in the past, one of the great things about your program is that there's a lot of content, tactical content for the head, but there's also a great deal for the heart. And that's clearly by design.
Well, I like to say we need to connect the heart and the head. I mean, if you think about the experience that we're going to deliver, and that's what it is. It's an experience for the audience.
Absolutely.
So it involves, behind the scene footage, the music, Top Gun, all the flying, but it's more important. And it's one of what I call the key attributes of a mindset of high performance. And that is you got to connect the heart and the head.
Right.
And that's where passion actually aligns with presence and your purpose. We also talk about joyful effort. How to really increase the joy, and by doing a debrief too, the Glad to Be Here debrief. Remember that footage of going behind the scenes?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What resonates there?
Well, it's nameless, rankless, so doesn't matter if you're top dog or new guy. It's all about increasing. It's a culture of openness and honest feedback.
Yeah, it's culture of excellence, right? And it does have the openness. So 5 dynamics that I'll be saying to this audience here. Number one, we got to create a safe environment. That's respect. Got to check your ego at the door. That's the humility. Got to lay it on the table. There's open and honest communication. Everyone wants accountability. I talk about personal responsibility and this ownership mentality. But it turns out that the key is the glad to be here mindset. That gratitude is that superpower. That accelerates everything.
Well, you touched on, so the 3 things that I was thinking, what is it about Foley's program that really hits audiences right between the eyes? It's the first quality, the head and the heart, I think. I mean, once you see the images and the video and the music, it's really a multimedia experience. But I think that the audience can very much appreciate that you are glad to be here and you're coming to this craft with a servant's heart full of gratitude.
Every day's precious. That's why whenever we get the opportunity to share this information with others to help them like we are today is precious. And I never forget that. Every morning I wake up and I say, I'm grateful, but more importantly, I want that experience to extend to each person in that audience. And we'll touch them. Watch this. We'll touch them because they'll walk out of here with their own story about glad to be here, with their own story. And by the way, glad to be here is still excellence. It's operational excellence with appreciation and gratitude. When those come together, like they're going to happen here in a few minutes, it's magic.
Excellent. John and I worked on, you might remember a few years ago, there was this pesky little global pandemic. And a lot of the live events that we had obviously pivoted to virtual.
Exactly.
You and I were together 3-4 years ago. We were at an event, and you were talking about sort of the virtuous cycle of you put ideas and humor and energy out, and you get that energy back. And you're incredibly energized at the end of your program, maybe even more so than at the beginning. But it's really impressive. You said virtual too just a second ago. And that is an interesting dynamic because there are a lot of speakers out there that if they're on a stage in front of 1,000 people, they put energy out, they get it back. But when they deliver content to that little green light, boy, they get a little unnerved. And I saw Foley he did a job for financial services, an insurance company, And holy smokes, the CEO was just gushing, and it was really, really impressive.
Well, I think the key on this, whether it's virtual or not, is are you authentic? Can they believe it, right? And we also have this cool footage, so it makes it easier when you see the energy. But it's all about connecting back to them. And that's why you are so important, because I understand we do a briefing call. We really understand what is the CEO, what's their decision makers trying to accomplish, and then how can we relate that back in a way that'll move the audience. Not only cool storytelling, but the interaction with them. You watch today, I'll have everybody raising their arms about, have they seen the blues? What are some of the content behind that? What is it? When you think of them, what comes to mind? We'll be talking about at the end, this ability to, give back. You got to give in order to receive.
For sure.
So we'll be giving the energy, and it's going to be coming back.
Right.
And at the end of the day, people will be walking out of here with Glad to Be Here stickers on their cell phones. They'll keep them on their phones, their computers for years.
Yeah.
And I was just in the airport.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, I was just in the airport coming back yesterday, and people come up to me and show me their phone with a sticker on it.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, I know you're going to crush it. If anybody out there on the interwebs is looking for, one other thing I wanted to mention. There was one customer who kind of got a little bit hand-wringing and worried about, it was a pilot, military pilot. Oh man, it's going to be too chest-pounding and macho. And that couldn't be further from the truth with your sort of giving heart and your attitude and generosity and gratitude. So anybody that would not recoil, but be hesitant around anything that is, coming from a military pedigree, but it couldn't be further from chest-pounding machismo.
No, you got to be vulnerable and humble, right? And the Blue Angels are all about being ambassadors of goodwill, and that's what I'm still in here. Our job was to inspire, to inspire greatness. There's pictures of me with the kids and the crowd line, right? And that's what it still is today. It's about inspiring others, which means to breathe life into someone else.
Right.
And that's what I want them to walk away with, and they will naturally. Also, by the way, Blue Angels, we just hired our first female demonstration pilot. How about that?
Awesome.
So this message is actually not about the military at all. It's about high performance.
Right.
It's using that experience, flying with the Blues, but also working in Silicon Valley. Getting 3 master's degrees and figuring out how does that translate back to business? How does that translate back to life?
Right.
And they'll have some powerful takeaways.
Yeah. Making those connections is key. Because I think everybody in the audience is, yeah, that's great for flying jets and military precision, but what does it have to do with me?
Exactly.
And John is really, really good at making those connections. So anybody out there on the inner tubes looking for a program, just super high energy, teamwork, culture, leadership, peak performance, that's your guy.
And we're also giving 10% to charity. I do that at every event, and it's great because we let the client pick where some of that goes.
Absolutely. Well, glad to be here.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for everything you do.
Excellent. Cheers. See ya.